from a loan standpoint.
Yeah, but it impacts way more than that.
Oh,
right.
Credit card debt,
Short-term auto loans,
HELOCs.
home equity lines of credit.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Everything.
And wearing the developer hat here, it impacts them big time because, if I'm borrowing acquisition and development money is always tied to
Short-term lending.
It's also tied to prime.
I mean, there was a report yesterday from the National Association of Home Builders talking about next year's market being a little, we'll use the word challenging for new construction.
Well, we've already lost at depending on who you talk to. At one point in time, we had $5 million units short. Supposedly, we were closer to 4 million. Now we're projected to be back over to the 5 million. So that whole inventory conversation, we're not.
We're back with our backs against the wall again.
I don't think we've ever got off the wall, to be honest with you.
It may have worsened with the inventory shortage.
Yeah, and I'm looking at it right now. It's interesting. We're actually, the last 7 days, 74 came on in the car footprint. 87 went pending, which is the last couple of weeks, the numbers have been reversed. So we're kind of back to the trend that we were some time ago.
We'll talk about this, guys, when the cameras go on. Give the show a like and a share anywhere you are watching. Nicholas Erpy, our friend, thank you for sharing the promo. We're very grateful of that. Let's welcome to the program, guys, some fantastic people, including Amari Ramazi. We also have Thomas Karakoff watching the program. Rodney Hernandez, hello and welcome to the program. Kelly Thorpe, welcome to the program. Thank you for watching. We have Kathy Foltz on the feed watching. Give the show a like and a share. We'll rock and roll here in a matter of moments. Judah Wickower, we're in your hands. Good Wednesday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk with Keith Smith. Fantastic morning to you and yours. Thank you kindly for joining us. This show live across Charlottesville, Albemarle County, Culpeper County, Central Virginia, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love Seville Network. We're presented by Yes Realty Partners, by Ross Mortgage. I want you to remember the name Ross Mortgage and Scott Morris to help you navigate home purchasing, HELOCs, refinancing. Scott Morris, Ross Mortgage. Today's show is dynamic. You, the viewer and listener, can participate in the discussion by offering your thoughts in perspective live in the feed, and we will relay them live on air. As we all know, expected is a good word. Jay Powell and the Fed Reserve back in the spotlight yet again. Never would I have ever guessed that a Federal Reserve chairman would be on the same playing field from a celebrity status as Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, Tobey Maguire,
and Scott Morris.
Scott Morris. Who's the beautiful blonde lady that is the golf influencer? Paige, I'm talking about?
Spiranac?
Yeah. She's fantastic.
She is fantastic.
She's fantastic. I love Scott Morris so much. Judah Wickower, studio camera. Let's welcome our guests and our experts. Gentlemen, good Wednesday morning.
My brain is full of useless knowledge.
You and I have very much quite a bit in common. And when you just got that answer and completed my sentence, I further realized that we have quite a bit in common, Scott Morris.
Love it.
But we'll leave that to a side for now for the sake of this talk show.
And Smith's sitting over going here. Golf? What's golf?
Well, we'll leave it alone.
Paige Spiranac for the masses.
Yeah, we'll leave that alone. Scott, the show's
small ears.
Scott
small
Morris,
ears.
the show is yours. What are you following for our first highlight reel or sizzle reel? We know Jay Powell is hosting a press conference later today.
I don't know if this is a sizzle reel. I know that if you're in the process and are looking to purchase a home, you want to go out and make an offer, go out and do what's best. find a price point that works for you. If you're comfortable with the payment, let's not focus so much on the rate at the moment because you're going to refinance the loan. What they're doing, what the government is going to do, is 100% going to run us into a hard landing, real recession. Whether they like it or not, they're not going to be able to softly guide this in. The jobs report earlier this week clarified that no matter what the messaging is today, they can't come across as they're taking their foot off the gas while employment still reigns as high as it does. And what I mean by that is open jobs reports equals harder to sell that we're going to stop what we're doing and then start lowering rates anytime in the near future. However, at some point early next year, that will be the case. Now, we may not go directly from a rate hike scenario to a decrease in rates, but we're definitely going to hit a few months there where they've stopped raising. They may stop next month. They may stop in January, February.
Great take. That's a sizzle reel.
But that's where we're at.
That's fantastic. Great start right there from Scott Morris. Let's mark that time right down. Keith Smith, jump in here.
Yeah, so I think we have this conversation all the time when the feds and I Googled a thesaurus on synonyms for synonyms.
I think the word he's using is synonym.
Cinnamon, isn't that what you put on?
Yeah.
It's put in coffee.
You put that on buttered toast and coffee.
Cinnamon.
That's
Cinnamon.
right.
Yeah,
That's
that's
right.
what it
You're
says. SYNOIN. Cinnamon.
100% right. 100% right.
Cinnamon. It was funny. We're having I've changed gears on it real quick. I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine. I had to take in. I've known him for 40 years. To take him into pick up his vehicle yesterday morning, and we're having a conversation, and he just looks at me and he goes, "There's 2 languages I speak." I went, "Oh, really?" I said, "Geez, I've known you, Ray, for 40 years. I only thought you spoke English." He goes, "Yeah, I also speak Keith." So
I feel like
The more difficult one to translate is if you speak to his
Dude,
brother.
Dude, I was
One of his
literally
brothers
gonna
is a whole nother.
anticipated, awaited, due, scheduled, and slated, according to Merriam-Webster.
Say that, Scott.
Well, Webster. I'm going with anticipated instead of expected. So we always, when we talk rates, right, and we have our anticipated, awaited, due, scheduled, or slated, or expected Fed rise. Connect the dots, right? Connect the Feds and the 30-year. Are they connected? Are they not connected? What impact would that have?
They're like
at the
second
30?
cousins.
So they're related in how they associate with the bond market. That's what makes them connected. So the correlation isn't that the Fed raises their rates and mortgage rates go up. It's that the Fed, when the Fed raises rates, how the real economy is operating in association with how the bond market is viewed is what draws that in. So what I mean is, if the Fed is continuing to raise, if the messaging is we're done doing this, you're going to see a positive reaction in the bond market, meaning that people are going to start buying into the U.S. 10-year, which is, well, I'm sorry, if they say that we're done doing this, we may very well get a continued sell-off in the U.S. 10-year. And if they say that we're continuing to hike, but we do see a hard landing in the future, that's where you're going to see people buy back into the U.S. 10-year, because once the concept is that we're facing a recessionary scenario versus an inflation scenario, that's where the bond market is a safer place for institutional money in that case versus equities being stocks, etc.
Very nicely done, Scott. Scott's on point.
Strawberry.
That was fantastic. He's got a sneeze. That's
Yep.
why he's saying strawberry.
So
Scott's on point this morning. That was a great.
that was a great answer,
analysis.
because I and what I was hoping we would go with the conversation is I think maybe the current rates already have priced in. There's like 2 people in the world that probably think Powell isn't going to.
Oh, the rate hike is totally baked in.
Yeah, so
100%.
that's an important conversation to have. That when they announce this at unless it becomes a point.
This has less to do with the actual raising of the rate that they're going to do, and more to do with what is said outside of that in the forecast and what the Fed is telegraphing for the coming months.
That's right. So he's basically saying the language Powell uses, whether it's
Matters.
hawkish or dovish, will be able to foreshadow what's coming.
Yeah.
That's what he's alluding to.
Yes.
Right
And the bond rate is market driven, right? It's folks buying and selling into it. The short term rate, right? The Fed rate is controlled by a group of individuals that are going to be setting that rate. The question is, gentlemen, is it going to work? Is it going to really slow? Is it really going to achieve the goals?
If they go high enough for long enough, it will.
Well, then
The crappy part about it is, and Scott's right, the crappy part about it is if they achieve their goals, the collateral damage of that is
Which is where we go from this
well,
soft
that's
landing, hard
pendulum,
landing
right? If
conversation.
they
pretty
do it,
crappy recession.
Yeah.
If they achieve their goals, it's a crappy recession.
yeah,
If
and-
they don't achieve their goals, we may have a decent economy, but the crappy part is we have to deal with inflation. I mean, there's no win here.
yeah. Well, I think
It's the worst of two evils, I guess, is how I would describe it.
Yeah,
Is
and
that how you would describe it, Scott?
Yeah, well, I mean, this
Lesser of two
this
evils?
isn't so.
Sounds like a joke.
This is the first time in international rate increase to fight off what I mean. Everybody did this. Every country who printed money during COVID created what we're going through, and it doesn't matter whether you're here. Europe finally passed us. They hit a 10% inflation rate. They dumped a bunch of money in. This is, everybody, we did this to ourselves. Planned pandemic.
so. I haven't gone through it. Charlottesville Area Association of Realtors. Look at that.
Very nicely done, Keith
Look at that.
Smith.
Nice practice in the mirror.
Synonyms.
It's what you put in. I put that in my coffee.
Put in your coffee.
It makes
On your pumpkin pie.
Pumpkin pie.
You can put butter in your coffee. That's like a whole thing.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be good for you,
Yeah.
like healthy.
Let me get this
Legitimately,
straight.
yeah.
Butter
Butter.
and so fat, caffeine is good.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be good for you.
Basically,
How about
how I
that?
live my life.
I got 25 pages report of the
Q3 report.
Q3 report in front of me, which I have not gone through in great detail. We've talked about on the show pretty much the first week what the third quarter was looking like, and I'm working on some numbers for October for Friday's show. But as you were chatting, on page number 1, the unemployment rate remains. This is for Charlottesville. Remains very low. In August, the unemployment rate was 3.7 in Virginia, and it was 2.9 in the Virginia region. Both are down from a year ago. So is employment impacting this or not impacting that? How this is unique. I've been personally through every recession or change since '81 that I remember on that end of it, and generally unemployment spikes. The ranks of unemployment spike.
I mean, the private payroll report was released this morning. Companies added 239,000 jobs in October, ahead of the Dow Jones estimate of 195,000 jobs. So here's another crappy part about this is people are filling jobs.
Yeah.
But for Powell to stop doing this, we need to see job losses. So this is an indication
That's what I was trying to
that
get
we
to.
still have more rate hikes to go
and it's
and steeper rate hikes to go
and
because it's not working so far.
and historically they're going to go on as I was trying to refer to on the pendulum, they're going to start doing this. Jobs are going to eventually get lost, which is a horrible thing, right? And then getting them back is brutal. It's brutal getting jobs back, and that pendulum is just going to peg to the right, and that's that recessionary period.
Well, especially in 2022, and Scott, you jump in here. In today's time, the jobs that are going to be lost, a lot of folks are predicting that they're going to be filled with technology and innovation and kiosks and computers and robots.
I mean, well, we're already seeing that. When
Yeah.
you look at point of sale, everything that's front end of a business, how do we automate this as opposed to paying somebody the new minimum wage of $20 an hour? That's, like it or not, where we are.
Well, you have to. A presentation was given to me as part of the Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission to the Regional Housing Partnership. You've got to make $20 an hour in this town to afford a rental.
We kind of chat on this back and forth, but I mean, we went through a time just internally where trying to find a rental for one of my employees, I mean, who makes greater than $20 an hour, and by the whatever the realtor calculation, 3 times income, 3 times rental in income, she didn't qualify for that. It was just, it was kind of tough.
Was the issue the first, last, and security deposit?
No, not her having the money for that. She makes.
Yeah, so they're requiring like 3 times the salary, right? So if it's right, is that what we're speaking about? So if you're doing 2,000, your monthly salary has to be.
Yeah. So I mean, she would have needed $5,400 a month for an $1,800 a month rent.
And that's an important thing to talk about. A lot of folks don't know that. That's the trend now on the residential rentals is they're looking at 3 times, right? So, we're going to eventually I kind of want to pivot to a little scenario where I play the buyer, you play the loan officer on that end of it. I'm not dressing up in anything weird, okay?
Okay.
But that's. So if you're looking at a 2,000, if you got a family and you're looking at a $2,000 a month, 3-bedroom, 2-bath kind of thing, you've got to make $6,000 a month. That is way more than $20.
Yeah,
$20 an hour, and that's the point that I was trying to make. So if you're at that world, if that's where you are in your life, maybe I know buying is a bit of a struggle right now, and you need trusted advisors, which we have at this table. But talk a little bit about that, right? We're this employee, right? Could they have bought a home?
Conceivably, the issue there became down payment.
Got it.
And that, then we go back into the rental conversation where, this is the biggest struggle for.
But you got to come up with $6,000, right? Because you're doing first month, last month, and the security. You're still coming up with $6,000.
Yes, but we were also going through an environment where we weren't getting concessions.
Got it.
In the middle of all this, so today,
which is back,
probably yes. Today she would have been more likely to have been able to have purchased, as opposed to when seller concessions were not on the table at that price point.
Kevin Yancey is getting a little squeamish on his bet with Scott Morris over here.
Oh, really?
Kevin Yancey and Kevin Higgins realized that what happens today is going to be very impactful with who wins the bourbon bet with Scott Morris. And, I'm not involved in the bet. I'm an innocent bystander that witnessed the bet. I'm happy to enjoy the bourbon with you guys. But I'm going to say this. Scott's certainly an expert with this. What happens with Powell today, and I hate to say this to Kevin and Kevin, is not going to really move the 30-year fixed.
It's already priced in.
Into an 8.5 territory, gentlemen. In fact, the 30-year fixed a few days ago dropped. It went from, about 7.16 to 7.07, obviously depending on credit scores, other things. But it went down a little bit.
A little bit. We've seen, we've basically been stagnant. Actually, I saw some negative movement in MBS, which mortgage-backed securities. So I saw some pricing get a little worse. So, but not that worse.
But credit.
Right. Not 1.4, 1.3 worse.
There's nothing significantly moving, in my opinion, moving the needle between now and the end of the year in that from where we are.
Unless there's.
it would have to be this meeting.
Right? Well, they also.
What else would do it?
Well, they can all.
There's the December meeting.
Yeah.
Right, but the December meeting there's not going to be enough runway to impact it after the. Is
Well,
the December meeting the first week of December?
Yeah, but if the narrative after this, that's the important part. If the narrative is of this, that they are signaling that they're going to do another 3/4 to a point in December, that could bump that over 8.
Daniel McDougall's watching the program. He's in the loan business. Daniel McDougall, DMAC. He says it's baked in already, like Scott has said.
Yeah, great.
He said the key, and exactly what we're saying, is watch for the comments that Powell's delivering at the press conference. The comments are going to allow us an opportunity to determine what's going to happen. Daniel McDougall, here's the bet. Scott Morris, the professional, has, with fantastic viewers and listeners of this program, specifically Kevin Yancey, the king of Waynesboro, and Kevin Higgins, the king of Greenwood. We love Kevin Yancey and Kevin Higgins. We love you guys. The bet is 8.5 on a 30-year fixed with good credit. Scott Morris has taken the under on 8.5 by close of business December 31st. The Yancey and Higgins are taking above 8.5. If it stays on 8.5 at the end of the year, it's a push. So that's the threshold. Scott Morris says no way it goes above 8.5. Higgins and Yancey are saying it's going to go above 8.5, and they have a nice bottle of bourbon on the line. What's your take, Daniel McDougall, of where you would put your bottle of bourbon on there? Gentlemen.
So the back up a little bit. You know, one of the data that I like to ask you all the time about is how is applications going? Are they staying flat? Are they going lower? Are they picking back up in the last, say, 30 days?
So, I mean, we've seen things slow down a little bit, but, you know, this time of year is also a slower time. However, I will say for the inventory that's out there, the offers that we've seen go in have all been in competitive situations for the most part, meaning
Multiple offers?
multiple offer situations.
Yeah. Not as many, though, right? Instead of a dozen, it's two or three or something.
So we're
like
talking
that.
two or three,
Yeah.
but we're talking about competitive agents are starting to take hold of what's going on. The offers are very similar. They're very competitive. They seem to be.
Isn't it funny how that works out, right? We've had our Center Avenue property we put under contract. It was basically an investor property. We had, a dozen offers. They were all exactly the same. It was odd, right? They were all the same terms, all the same conditions. You know, it was all very similar. And in our case, what we do is we throw it out to everybody and say, okay, tomorrow at such and such, give us your highest and best offer, and see if somebody comes back a little bit different. But there was 12 offers that were literally identically the same, which I don't remember ever seeing that before.
Yeah.
Usually there was just enough of a difference. Now, it was a very specific property. It was really, in my opinion, investor driven, right? They were all cash offers, right? It was priced right to go ahead and do it, but it was very odd, and it came down to who can close the fastest. Is ultimately,
Yeah, I mean that's what can make or break a lot of times.
Coach Michael Buchensky watching the program, Coach B, he says the bigger issue is almost all investors are charging points just for the base rate. In some cases, 2 or 3 points. Investors are reading the tea leaves and are trying to get profit now, as they know this time next year, everyone and their brother will be refinancing if the predictions are correct and rates get back in the 5% range third quarter of next year.
And so,
You want to touch on that?
So
Scotty
Coach
Moe?
B and you are thinking the same, right?
That's what I've been saying this whole time, and that's been going on for months. The biggest concern, the biggest thing there is these, they're charging points, but it's also because for a $500,000 loan, they go out, they're paying $510,000, $515,000 for it. So it's recouping that servicing that they're not going to get on the back end. So the borrower is going to be forced to pay it up front. It's that simple.
Comments are coming in fast and furious. The queen of travel, Gwendolyn Gale Cassidy, is watching in Holland. She says, good morning to Scott, Keith, and the fellas.
Welcome back to Holland.
Put some pictures of some windmills up. Isn't that Holland?
Yes,
That's
Holland.
Holland.
That's Holland.
I don't know. Like I said, I'm not very cosmopolitan.
Yeah, that would be Holland.
She says the first rule of econ, interest rates go higher, prices of bonds go down, and vice versa. Simple inverse relationship. Inflation and stagflation, not so easy to equate. Stagflation would be worse than inflation. Many countries like Argentina 10 years ago already felt the impact of stagflation, persistent high inflation, and high unemployment. Everyone at this table is terrified of stagflation.
Yes.
Yeah.
What we're missing there.
Almost don't want to say the word.
The price of bonds go down, the yield goes up. And the yield is when everybody looks and sees the green and red on the screen as far as how that's relating to how we're reading, seeing this. So the value of the bond down, higher yield. Higher yield makes it more attractive to the investors who are actually willing to buy it. Lower yield, higher cost of the bond itself.
She also says, Keith, Denmark actually has more windmills. But yes, Holland is known for windmills.
Gwendolyn, I stand corrected.
No, she's giving you props. She says Holland has windmills.
Yeah, but I should have deferred to her first because I'm excited to hear when she comes back about her Italy trip, because there's some debate amongst the Smith family about for somebody's birthday to spend a couple of weeks in Italy, but we've got to talk about that when you get back.
Ray Cadell has this comment, and it's a great one.
Ray, how you doing, man?
We love you, Ray Cadell. Ray's been closing some deals.
Ray's just outstanding people, period.
He says when Chick-fil-A has to close inside service because it cannot find labor, something is awkward, at least in the employment picture. I will add to that, Ray Cadell. Bodo's on the UVA corner multiple times in October had to close because no labor to run the location on the corner. And both
Taco Bell on Zion's Crossroad and in Orange has consistently shut down their inside seating staffing because they just don't have people.
It's everywhere. The club in our neighborhood has shut down brunch service multiple times because of no labor to serve folks.
So interesting. There was an article about Chick-fil-A that they're going to a 3 and 4 day work week for their employees. It's pretty interesting. If somebody's Google that came out. My vehicle, my pickup truck, I normally could get it serviced. I'm ready for my normal service. I normally can get it in a day or two. They're 2 weeks out. And I said, what's going on there? I said, we don't have enough techs.
Yeah,
right?
well,
It's impacting everything.
Well, the tech issue is a major problem. So you've got an industry that has been short qualified technicians for years and years and years, who's now shifting to an electric vehicle platform that no one understands how to fix. And then there's all these voltage issues and all these things, that they just don't have qualified technicians for. You can't get them to school fast enough. You can't get them out of a trade school fast enough. No one's going to trade schools. It's just like carpenters, plumbers, electricians, the trades are suffering. And
there's only so much you can automate, right, at this point. Right. And there's only so much this iPhone I'm holding in my hand can do. We've talked about this numerous times.
Well, the unfortunate aspect of society today, and this hits close to home, my father-in-law, a Mercedes-Benz mechanic, and those are, top of the totem pole when it comes to mechanics. And he has since retired. One of the reasons he retired, outside of the physicality of the job, was the technological aspect of today's cars.
Yeah.
Sure.
Where it's less about,
diagnosing from.
You're helping me here.
Yeah, back in the day, your father-in-law could listen to a car.
That's
and go,
what I'm saying.
I know this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, and do it. Now you got to slap it on a computer.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But a master technician, a master skilled thing.
That's what he is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He can. He'll hear a car driving down the road and go, "This is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, and this is how you fix it." Yeah. That skill level is going away. And look, the computers will help and go ahead and get stuff done, but you still need skilled craftspeople to do work. There's just not so much.
And the unfortunate thing is everybody now wants to be a TikTok celebrity.
But it's interesting.
An influencer.
A social media influencer. Essentially what we are doing right now. And this is no.
Well, we're not good at anything else, so that's.
Right now they're talking about banning TikTok, which is crazy. So it's very interesting.
What's your take on that? You're on point today. Do you?
So
you're not terrified that the Chinese are screwing with us with TikTok?
So I'm sure they are. They have been. This is something that it's funny that who says what gets what kind of. I think Donald Trump came out and said something about this, and it was like, I can't believe it.
When he was in the White House.
Yeah, and now we've got an FCC commissioner who's going, hey, this is legitimately a
problem.
A problem. It's something that we need to do. We need to look at this again. And now it gets no media coverage. It's like it's just the world we live in is bonkers, man.
It's to add to that. TikTok isn't
that what the watch does?
TikTok, the app, which is owned by the Chinese government.
Yeah, no.
It is owned by the Chinese government. Yeah. There's a viral trend on TikTok right now. Parents, be careful of this. It's the Kia hot wire challenge. Have you followed this?
So it's not just Kia; it's also Hyundai as well.
Hyundai's as well.
It's cars that did not have a transponder attached to the key.
That's
so
right.
what that means is the key itself does not have a chip in it, so that they're easier to hotwire, kind of like your '80s movie Under the Hood,
Yes.
like zappity zap zap. And there's some instructional videos throughout the internet that
I didn't know if I needed to
kinda
do a
get
dance.
on and
Zappity
off.
zap zap.
Well, zappity zap zap is
love Scott.
it's a very technical term.
Zappity zap zap.
So they're teaching.
Gwendolyn, save me, please.
TikTok is showing kids how to steal
Yeah,
cars.
yeah.
And then the app is putting this content in the highest, most visible spot of the algorithm for kids to see it.
Well, the algorithm is attention based, so that means anything that gets a lot of attention goes to the top of that feed, which is great if you're creating good content and you're trying to, as someone who's trying to create, who wants to be wants to be an influencer for whatever,
good.
for the good, for the bad, for the whatever. If you're trying to get the attention, it's a way to get it, as opposed to the way some other platform algorithms work. One of the main takeaways there is, from an advertising perspective, like personally, it does me no good to be on TikTok if I'm not in every state, because if I get a bunch of people who want loans in Alabama, that doesn't do anything. However, if I were to do some targeted advertising through their non-organic platform, but through an advertising, you can actually target regionally pretty
based
well
on IP addresses.
at a decent price point there.
Yeah, 100%. I guess my point is, and we'll get off the TikTok subject here, my point is, if the app really had the best interest of
they don't.
humanity, they don't. They would probably remove
It's the Chinese government,
how to
folks.
steal car
It's the
content.
Chinese
That's what I'm saying.
Well, that's
As
I mean, that's
somebody-
been a problem since it started. In China, what gets attention through the app is solving math problems and engineering type of things. And over here, it's assholes dancing. You know?
Dude, I love it. Dude, he's on point today. Scott, give Scott some props right here. I'm going to give him some props. Let's just put it this way. The Chinese government does not allow children in China to use TikTok.
Yeah.
Put that in perspective. That gives you perspective.
But
Jamie Turner, who works in intelligence, said this before. When I was on an intelligence contract, we could not have TikTok on any device.
Sure.
If we did, we could not work on the engagement.
So, as the elder statesman at the table, right, who's lived under communism for a half a decade, I understand this all too well. And, I've been in those parts of the world, and they have tremendous, they can paint whatever picture they want to paint, but they control everything.
Yeah.
And
JT also
not surprising.
says, I'm watching Real Talk with Keith Smith in the best coffee shop in the land. Raven's Nest.
Love it.
Repping the pep, baby.
Give Brittany-
If you know, and Scott knows.
Give Brittany a shout out. I love everybody there.
Culpepper getting props from JT and Scotty Moe right now. Keith Smith, jump in here with Fast and Furious.
Yeah. So as far as the TikTok thing goes, again, I thought that's what a watch did, but what the hell do I know?
Synonym.
I put it in my coffee today. It's actually really good.
It's almost eggnog season.
Okay.
I love eggnog.
Have we
time out.
cleared pumpkin spice and we've
Okay,
moved
I'm
on
about to
to
say,
peppermint?
enough with the freaking pumpkin
I
spice.
hope
Can
we
I,
cleared pumpkin spice.
can I get on a soapbox on that? Enough of the pumpkin spice, please.
But you guys are eggnog fans, right?
It's got alcohol in it?
I mean, I would even drink it. Is it a non-alcoholic?
Yeah, then you could-
eggnog? Is
you-
it called virgin? It is called
Well, I
virgin?
mean, like what you buy at the grocery store.
Is-
Is
yeah.
the,
Yeah, so it's good.
The mixture of eggnog is not an alcohol. Then you just add the alcohol.
You add the alcohol to it.
Yeah, add the alcohol.
It's
to
great,
it.
right?
Yeah, sure. I just
love
drink the alcohol.
I love it. This comment's come in. This is a
Gwendolyn,
good one
save me.
for you guys. Back to the COLA issue. Cost of living in Charlottesville, Virginia
Oh, yeah.
is 2% higher than the state average and 3% higher than the national average.
We talked about this on Monday.
Charlottesville, Virginia housing is 8% more expensive than the U.S. average, while utilities are 1% pricier. How much does someone need to make to live in Charlottesville, Virginia? Typical expenses, 1 adult, 0 children. The required annual income after taxes, $31K. Annual taxes, $7,700. Required annual income before taxes, $3,800 and change. Gwendolyn, that's A+. She's watching in Holland and dropping
Thank you,
knowledge
Gwendolyn.
right there. Now, I will say this. If you were fortunate, or maybe, yeah, fortunate's the right word, or you earned it through hard work, that's also applies here, to purchase a house that has a decent interest rate and you've fixed your overhead, you're in a much better position to manage the increasing cost of living in Charlottesville, Virginia. And Scott's highlighted this as well. If you're new to the market and you're a Zillennial, a Millennial, a Gen Zer, and you're having to rent something and you're jumping in the rental game now, that's going to be difficult.
So we talked about this on Monday. Top 5 highest cost of living is our region. Certain counties maybe a little less than downtown Charlottesville, but we've historically have been one of the highest cost of livings in the state of Virginia. But I think to go back to the question on from Scott's perspective, and I'm trying to look at a home that's available at Lake Monticello, just to give you a price point. But, let's assume I'm doing a $350,000 purchase, right? And let's assume I'm doing 10% down. How much money do I need to make to afford that? What amount of money do I need to make to be able to buy that? And I think that's the question we're asking. Does that sound about right?
Actually, yeah, cost of living.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe not just ownership, it could be also rental.
Well, so we know that, and I can look on my phone for that, but we know that, to get a rental right now is pretty expensive and comparable maybe in the monthly payment, which hopefully Scott can help us out with. But
She adds Virginia scores a 103.7 on the cost of living index, which is based on a U.S. average of 100. That means compared to the national average, the cost of living in Virginia is more expensive.
that's for the whole state.
Whole state. And Charlottesville, we know from a whole state standpoint, is in the top 7.
Well, we can just, and Gwendolyn may be able to look into our region, but if we just take a look at the CAR report here real quick, and just focusing on the comment that we talked about, unemployment, the state unemployment rate is 3.2, our area is 2.9. So, we're less, not a ton, but we're less than 3, and the state is a little bit over 3%. So Gwendolyn might be able to help us out on what the CAR footprint or the Charlottesville area looks like. And that's one of the great things I like about this report is the the economy outlooks. I think the data stuff, the sales stuff we've already tackled on the show.
And it's important to emphasize that this is not going to it's going to be more expensive to live here.
All right, so $2,600 a month
For the $350,000 Lake Monticello house.
for the $350,000 Lake Monticello house. You need to make about, as a household, assuming no other debt, with 10% down, around $5,600 a month.
And then more debt you have, the more you have to
Correct.
make. So what about the impact of student debt on that? Is that impacting that a 1-to-1 or?
So we'd calculate the amount of your student debt at 0.5%. So
So it's a half of whatever.
So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's good knowledge right there. Very good knowledge.
Lake Monticello, interesting, is that we talked about this, I think, on last Friday, is up to 30 homes available. I think last Friday we were a little bit less than that.
So the inventory is upticking.
Inventory is upticking.
I mean, what's happening with the inventory is it's just staying stickier. It's not moving as fast.
Yeah.
Depends on the house. If it's
Yeah,
priced
yes
right,
and no.
And the location.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying this for a couple of months, and I'll keep on.
6 things.
I won't say that. The 6 things, but it's hyper-local, right? One side of Lake Monticello is different than the other side of the Lake Monticello golf course is different. It depends on the features and the conditions and pricing it right. But there are at Lake Monticello out of 30, there's only 6 homes that are under $300,000, and it jumps up to $325,000 and keeps on rolling from there.
I wonder how many folks at Willow Tree locally had stock options.
Oh, that's a pivot.
Well, and the reason I bring this up is because if they live locally and they got a big bag of money when this deal closes, that's going to a perfect example of driving up the cost of living.
What deal is this?
Willow Tree and Woolen Mills sold for $1,225,000,000 last week.
What is this? What is
The app company.
app company?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Charlottesville-based, Charlottesville headquartered, primary headquarters, founded in Charlottesville by Tobias Dengel and Michael Pritchard. Literally last week, sold for a unicorn valuation. First Charlottesville. Actually, I think we've determined that. No, we'll call it the first unicorn in Charlottesville history. We'll say SNL.
Wasn't the first? No, the
Yeah.
first unicorn would have been.
SNL wasn't unicorn though.
Yeah,
but
it
was
was
years
awful.
ago. It was close.
It was years ago,
And
and
today's
it was,
money, it would have been unicorn.
I
What's
would
the
agree with that.
no? The first unicorn sale was what's that?
So let's define a unicorn sale for those who
It's
do
over
not.
$1 billion. It's $1 billion or more
Okay,
valuation.
all right. So this was
Yeah.
less than $1 billion, but the first one that was really like Corn's company that sold the sports media.
Oh, you're not talking red light, are you?
Red
Is
light.
that Red
No,
Light?
Red Lights.
Red light before maybe
No, Corn still owns Red Light.
Music Today?
Music Today.
Yeah. Yeah. It didn't get it
It may not have gotten that
No,
valuation.
not that
but-
valuation.
But when did it sell? To your point on SNL, right?
SNL was a boatload of money.
And
It wasn't
years.
ago. If
So-
it was today, it would have been a unicorn.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think it was
I
like
think it'd
800,
be-
800, 900 million.
Yeah, and it'd be over $1 billion for sure.
Yeah. So this is a Gwendolyn's on point today. She said Willow Tree
all that great-
majority owned by its management team and current employees. Willow Tree started out with a 3-person team in 2008 and has since grown to 540 employees total. The Virginia team accounts for 264 team members, 138 employees from North Carolina. There's a 3-person team in New York with its recent acquisition of Ohio-based Dynamite Technologies.
Wow,
Willow Tree
the
gained
data.
135 employees. Yeah, dude.
So
she's on point. She's
let's
smart.
just
She's so
put,
smart.
let's put this whole social media thing into context. We talked about TikTok. We've got 3 guys sitting down in Charlottesville talking about stuff. We got Gwendolyn in Holland,
In Holland.
educating us
In Holland.
and educating
And
us.
on my heat map, I'm seeing Richmond, McLean, Arlington, Tennessee, North Carolina, Roanoke, Lynchburg, Crozet, downtown Charlottesville, Keswick, Earlysville, all watching the program here. This is social media used for the good.
And
I
that's
swear
what
to
we're-
God, we're not going to show you how to hotwire a car on Real Talk with Keith Smith.
Not that, well,
All right, maybe we show some photos of Paige. Maybe. But that's the
and not
topic
that
for
I've
another day.
ever done that before.
You've hotwired a car?
I may have once or twice.
Have you hotwired a car?
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't know how to hotwire. I can barely turn a light bulb in. I mean, how many? For 7 years, this door has been banged up over here.
Yeah, but we've been promising
You
that
have.
for a while. Well, we
I
ought,
gently put it into
I
the
think
subconscious.
we ought to have a live show of Scott and Keith
Dude, you
fixing
guys
the
could
door.
fix it immediately.
It depends on the door.
Well, Scott was the demo guy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Scott was the demo
Let's
guy.
let's not go there. I'm still
can break the
recovering
door.
from
You
this.
can break the door.
I'm still recovering
Scott
from
used
this.
to work for Keith's construction company decades. Was it decades ago?
Yeah.
Was it 20 years ago?
Yeah. it was-
So
it
let's
was 20
first
years
of
ago.
all say drop the word work.
Okay. Scott did the demo work.
That's
and
right.
Keith would show up in his pickup truck and say,
Well, there was a. We did a
Yeah,
lot
but
of
we
framing.
have to classify this. I didn't ask them to demo anything. It just
That's
kind of
right,
turned
that's
out
right,
that way.
that's right.
It turned out that way.
So I guess the point, it's just an example that Charlottesville is going to get more expensive if these folks had stock options,
Sure.
got this payday, and just were handed a big bag of money and are now living in the community with a big bag of money.
Well-
264 people.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, is it enough to have like a market moving amount of influence?
I mean, it depends on how much.
That's true.
I
Yeah.
mean, over $1 billion, 1.225 billion.
Yeah.
So Gwendolyn, where are you sitting in Holland?
Yeah, that's a good question. What time is it in Holland?
So it's either 5. Well, hold it. My sister-in-law and my family in Austria has already set the clock back, so it's only 5 hours right now. So she may be at 5 hours, maybe 4, depending on what part of how. Let me think. Let me get my geography right. I think she's probably at 5 right now. 5 hours difference.
Scott Morris, Jamie Turner says he's got a house that you can demo in Gordonsville if you'd like. Jamie Turner has got that house. Remember, he put a case study on the feed of what he should do with it.
Yeah.
I think he was going to do a controlled burn. On the
really?
house
Well,
in Gordonsville.
Yeah, that's a great follow-up. I'm wondering if
What'd you do, Jamie
if the
Turner?
FD allowed him to do that, fire department allowed him to do that.
He's got a house that he's then going to build into a side-by-side duplex.
So
If he needs a construction loan,
Hey, let's
I know
go.
a guy.
Yeah.
I know a guy.
I know a guy. He
And
might
I
be
know a
sitting
guy
in
that
the
if you give him a skid steer and go away, and say, look, can you do some grading around here? The house will be down.
And,
Yeah.
and
That was actually not me.
5-hour difference.
But you were watching, though.
Yeah.
And she's watching in Kotwiczki. Kotwiczki.
Oh,
you
that
know
I
that
don't.
word?
I do not know
Okay.
that word.
It's 45 minutes southwest of Amsterdam on the
Got it.
beach. 5-hour difference.
5 hours difference, right?
It's 4 p.m. right now.
Because they've changed they changed their hour already, and then we'll be caught back up. Isn't it this weekend? When is the time change for us? I think it's this weekend, isn't it? I have no idea.
Fall back.
Well, I know that.
Is it
but
fall back?
I know that, but what
Yeah,
is
fall
fall back, spring ahead?
Yeah,
But
spring
what
forward.
is it this coming weekend?
Judah, do you know that answer? Is the time change this
When do
coming
we
weekend?
when do we change the time? We might do a PSA for people.
Oh,
Got
it's pronounced Cat White. Thank
Cat
you,
White.
thank you, Gwendolyn. Thank you very much. She's enjoying the show. We're enjoying you.
Oh, thank you.
commenting on
You
the
make
show.
us so much smarter.
Absolutely. To the Willow Tree comment, you add the Willow Tree with the data science school, with Apex. It's Sunday. We just got Keswick letting us know it's
Thank you.
this Sunday.
That's
Thank
what I
you
thought
for
it was
that.
this weekend. Yeah.
You just add all these other
Which I hate,
elements,
by the way,
and it
but that's
becomes
all.
more expensive. That's what my point is.
Well, you've been talking about this on the show for a while. You know, the little tech hub that Charlottesville has become.
Silicon East.
You know, and we have all these things, which, you know, creates the concern, which I'm sure Gwendolyn is talking about, and we've highlighted on the show multiple times, you know, this divide, right, between the haves and have-nots, I think
It's widening
is wide, is
Every
widening.
day.
Is widening.
every day, and that's why Coach B has this, which is a good comment. Wow, there's a lot of comments. Let me see if I can get to Coach B's comment. If a kid goes to trade school, plumbing, electrical, they will make a mint when they get out because those skills are being replaced by youth desire to be a YouTube or TikTok star. I saw a report that something like 80% of youth these days think they will be multimillionaires via social media when they grow up. It's terrifying.
That's what the American dream has turned into.
The American dream used to be professional football player. Well, not American dream. Kids that were Scott and I's age growing up were basically the same age. We wanted to be sports stars.
Yeah. Everybody thought they were going to be in the NFL,
Yeah, like
MLB.
Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
That's what the goal was.
Mine was Willie Mays.
Now
but that's
no one
okay.
even freaking watches sports or baseball. All they do is watch TikTok and YouTube
Or Real Talk with Keith
and Real
Smith.
Talk with Keith Smith. They want to be celebrities on social
Yeah,
media.
well, we're hopefully doing the opposite of that and providing information and education. So, you know, since Gwendolyn is in Europe, I can tell you my nephew, it's actually in Austria because I can speak with this with some authority. Actually, when you get into high school, you can choose a path. You can choose a college path, an education or you can choose a trade school. My nephew chose a trade school. He is a master gas fitter. Went his high school to that. He works for the local, Austria. One of the gas companies are state owned, so he works for that. And he is a master gas fitter and makes a substantial amount of money.
This is a legit question. When is Tova? I'm sorry, Tova Payne, the fabulous, the beautiful,
Adding some vowels over here.
the newly minted loan officer.
Yes.
Tova, congratulations. She says, yes, it's this weekend, gentlemen. For Fall Forward.
Thank you.
She's on point.
Thank you,
always
Tova.
organized.
She runs my life.
Yeah,
So.
Tova, you're awesome. Everyone needs a Tova in their life. You are awesome. She's holding us accountable from Culpeper right now.
And we've got Holland holding us accountable, Culpeper holding us accountable.
It's beautiful. Social media used for the good. When does the curriculum shift to start featuring social media influencer classes?
There's no long-term value, so the answer is never.
Really? You think?
Explain that.
How many who are you going to find? Who are you going to find to teach it with any kind of credibility?
Kim Kardashian?
Unless we play the game of those who can't teach, in which case I'm sure we can find an entire generation who can teach people how to be influencers.
Well, we highlighted it here not too long ago. K-Tech couldn't hold classes because they couldn't hire people to teach them. So not only
I guess my point is, if all the generation, the new generation wants to be social media celebrities, will there not be a school that is birthed to educate the new generation that wants to be social media celebrities?
you know what, that's probably going to happen.
Everybody is trying to make a buck.
That's probably going to happen.
This is how you do it.
But who is
Sounds
going
like
to
V&V Brands is creating. I'm just joking. I'm
and
just
who's gonna come in and repair your plumbing in your house?
Well, that's, I think, Coach B's point.
Yeah.
That anyone who pursues that path is going to make a killing.
Well, that's
But my
That's
little
all our
brother
points.
Michael, right? He's a
Yeah.
trim carpenter. I call him Doc. He does very well for himself, right? And it was when he calls me, which is never.
Doesn't he live in your neighborhood?
No, that one. My brother Michael lives in
Richmond?
Richmond.
Okay.
Matthew lives in my
Short
neighborhood and doesn't call me either, but that's a different point.
But you see each other for Thanksgiving, right?
We do. We see each other
Okay.
regularly. But look, I mean, it's 100% right. We've been talking